Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. It's Buckeye Friday. We have real Buckeye football again tomorrow. That bye week was sucked. It felt like it was like 37 weeks long. I just made that number up in my head. Dan, what's up, man?
I'm just excited for the Bucks to be back on the field tomorrow.
Yeah.
Got some bats that Emily put up in the
Oh, yeah.
abode. Mila walked out the other morning and looked at that little pumpkin and said, "Hello, pumpkin. Did you have sweet dreams?" So life doesn't suck when you have things like that happening around your Adobe
Yeah, no,
abode or
not at all.
whatever.
Yeah.
Yep.
Very
Yeah,
good.
but I'm excited, man. Ready for
yeah.
football.
Gosh, and thankfully it's a noon banger too. Like we're not going to be waiting until 7 p.m. like we did for Western Michigan. So
Well, I don't want to rub it in,
back.
but I get it an hour earlier than you do.
Oh yes, that's true. That's true. Yes. So kind of a screwy week in college football. So there before we get into like super Buckeye stuff with Marshall, what is up with Deion Sanders and all of this, like this video he puts out of all this swag? Because Ryan Day offered some like a hoodie and a backpack. I love that backpack, by the way. Like give me that. I'll travel with it with my laptop when I got to travel. But why is Prime even involved with this? Like what?
You know what? I don't have a problem with this one. I think who is it? Is it Mace?
Yeah, Mace.
Dude, I'm going to sound completely uneducated at this point, but
yeah.
I mean, he's a national, international, hip hop artist, rapper, whatever he is, and I think he's kind of got a thing where he's not an Ohio State guy, is he?
I think they're using one of his songs, I believe, or something.
Yeah. So you know what? I actually don't have a problem with this one with Deion. He's just having a little fun.
Okay. All right. And then the other interesting Buckeye news. So Ben Hartsock comes out and says that he's rooting for Kyle McCord, and a bunch of people have covered this already. So I grabbed permission from our good friend Juck to use his short about what Ben Hartsock had to say. So I'm going to play that and we can chime in on it too. But basically, more or less, what the heck, Ben? So I thought that was spot on, man.
I got so much to unpack there. So I am going to go short. It's our board Juck Eyes. It's definitely not what Emily thought that shirt said when she saw it laying on the bed the first time.
We should tell that story after this. That was so funny.
But anyways, I'm going to stop short of saying that I'm like legitimately happy for Kyle McCord. All right. Like, I'm indifferent to it. Quite honestly, I'm kind of pissed because I've got it on pretty good authority that he was just a miserable human being in the locker room last year and was unhappy. And, we saw that on the field. And I think that, impacted his play. Now, do I think that the pressure cooker of Ohio State football was not for him? I do. I think that's what it was. It's the only explanation I got because he does look like a different player out at Syracuse this year. He looks more confident. He looks more decisive. He looks, he's more vocal, whatever. But I mean, dude, it's Syracuse. Like this notion that he could have done the exact same thing here, he was given a chance. He played a full season. He played 12 games. And yes, he went 11-1, but the offense never clicked. It never went well. There was always drama surrounding it, and I don't want to bash the kid because of his old man, but his old man's a piece of crap.
Yeah.
I mean, he really is. I mean, for him, the guy constantly slides into DMs. He's the ultimate helicopter parent. And, there's so much more to it. Was it a win-win for everybody? Sure. Yeah, Kyle's making out better. We're way off. We're way better off. But, watch the film, man. Most of his stuff is one-read stuff still, and it's not very complicated. It's focused on one side of the field. The scheme at Ohio State is way more complicated than that. He wasn't able to grasp it and process.
You stole my thunder, man.
This year. I love Juck, but
yeah,
I'm not legitimately happy for the kid. I'm completely indifferent.
Well, I think that I would say that it worked out for all parties. I don't know that I would say happy. And
I
I
agree with
will
that.
say too that when you listen to CJ Stroud talk about how complex Ryan Day's offense is, it just seemed like Kyle McCord never quite got it, and he's also a statue that didn't help. And we're very used to elite quarterback play in the pocket and or out of the pocket. The way that CJ can manipulate a pocket, just drastically different quarterbacks. So I think that looking at it, Will Howard fits what Ohio State does better. He just does. Same with Devin. Like they are able to move a little bit and can manipulate the pocket. And then you go into Syracuse, and I think Fran Brown's a good coach, but there's no pressure, so to speak, comparable to what you feel to Ohio State as a quarterback, other than maybe Georgia, Alabama, Texas, the big schools to perform. And if you don't perform, you're going to hear about it. And yeah, Derek McCord didn't help the situation at all.
Yeah.
I was exposed to Daddy Ball, which is what we like to call it, this past Tuesday night. So, I'm still angry about it. So I could understand fans' frustration with things, but yeah,
Yeah.
super. I'm happy that I'm happy for Will Howard. I'm happy for Avery Johnson. I'm glad Kyle McCord found somewhere to land and that he's doing well, because I think then it all worked out. But people forget, Dan, and he entered the transfer portal. He had made his mind up before the Michigan game. So to say he was forced out, it's just that there was no guarantee that he was going to be the guy. And so his NFL dreams, like Chuck said, die right there if we bring in Will Howard and he isn't the guy.
Yeah. He made a good business decision. Quite frankly, the same way I expect Devin Brown to make a good, business decision at the end of this year and do what he can to have his career that I think he's capable of. You just said something that kind of caught me off guard. Kyle didn't enter the portal before the Michigan game.
He made the decision to enter the portal.
He
said that. I didn't.
Oh, has he said that since then?
Yeah, he said it in an interview when he with some Syracuse folks, I'm pretty sure.
Well, then you know what? That completely, once and for all, annihilates and kills the narrative that he was forced out or thrown out. If that kid, if everything that happened with him and his dad, where they, if that happened before the Michigan game, that they wanted guarantees Kyle would be the guy again and then asked for more money. If that happened before the Michigan game, which I'm thinking now it did since he made his decision before the Michigan game, then you know what? I'm no longer indifferent. I don't care. I'm rooting against the kid.
Yeah.
I'm salty today, man. So you're getting the best of me.
It's all right. It's all good. So Marshall thunders to town, Dan.
Oh my goodness.
You're welcome. I knew you'd like it.
At least you're not going to get yelled at by Morgan in the comments this week.
No. Oh, okay. We'll tell two stories. Number one, the Juck Eyes shirt. My wife thought it said Luck Eyes. Dan's wife thought it said, it starts with an F.
Yeah.
Dan texts me and says, that's the difference between the two women. So you guys can have a little fun with that. And hey, if you guys aren't following Juck's a good dude. Enjoy him a lot. And I know, and Dan, we have a text thread, the three of us. We do. And I'm from near the Akron area. Juck is, Chris is. And Juck's a solid dude. And I know that he's taken some flack recently since joining the Menace platform. And I'm going to ask you guys to try to separate the man from like the other stuff. Okay. That's all I'm going to say. Like, you believe what you believe. It's fine. But Juck is a solid dude. He just is. And he's really good at what he does. So if you're not checking out his platform, give it a shot. He does a good job, Dan. And, you said something yesterday. I think he's onto something big. He has a natural God-given talent. So
I think Juck deserves national syndication at some time in his career.
Yeah.
I think he's that good. Yeah, it's unfortunate that people are so sensitive in today's society that they're going to go ahead and go from being 100% loyal to completely, disloyal and even mean about it. Um, it's just unfortunate. I mean, we drop 2 episodes a week. We show up, we're on camera, we talk. There's nothing even fancy about what we do, right?
Mm-mm.
We're just two talking heads. Jock was doing 5, 6, 7 shows a week. His quality of programming has gone through the roof over time. I love the fact that he still keeps the bloopers in there,
That's great.
because I think it's part of who he is. All that was for free.
Mm-hmm.
And he was, I just think he was providing something so far above and beyond what a lot of independent podcasters do, that he had an opportunity to go and start to give a little bit back to his own family by being on a platform that's incredibly successful. So to each their own. But it just I felt kind of hurt for the guy when I heard about some of the stuff that's been going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, everybody's going to think what they want to think and believe what they want to believe about the owner of the platform. And I can, hey, whatever. But I can tell you for sure, Chuck's a good dude. So, I'll leave it at that. But speaking of Marshall, Dan, and we're on to the Marshall game. Tomorrow is the official end of our Blitz to 500. We picked up a couple more this week. We are at 459. I have a number randomizer ready to go for our next recording. I have everybody's name that I could find in our spreadsheet. It's probably, if it's your username, we'll put it out here and you'll just need to contact me and I'll give you my details. And we'll get you that $50 Buckeye Corner gift card. So, Dan, as I said, Marshall thunders to town. Let's look at a couple things, Dan. First of all, the spread, it has not changed. It's still 39.5. Feels like a big spread to me. Especially, late in those games, it can get a little wonky. And then I was reminded, I sent it to you guys. I was actually at this game. I was trying to remember what year it was, but it was Mike Nugent's senior year. Marshall played us tough. It was 21-21. He kicks a 55-yard field goal, and I was on that end of the stadium, I think I was in A deck with my dad. That was back when we had different seats. And I remember when he kicked the ball and I was like, oh, that looks like it's got enough leg. And I just remember, at the time, being elated that we won. And then I remember on the drive home, my dad goes, never should have been that close. So there you are, the fun times of Marshall. So Marshall has the number 74 scoring offense. We have the number 4 scoring offense. Their rushing offense is a top 50 rushing offense. They're number 35. And then their passing offense is down near the bottom at 83. And their total offense is 60. So, Dan, looking at the defensive side of the ball, they have the number 27 pass defense. That's what jumped out at me. So they're a top 30 pass defense. What do you expect on Saturday?
Just like Clubber Lang said, prediction, pain. I'm excited for the boys to come out. It sounds like they had an off week unlike any other, and it sounds like their practices are unlike any recent years in regards to how intense they're going. So I'm telling you, man, I mean, I've said it before. Ryan's got this serial killer assassin mindset.
Mm-hmm.
They're not holding back. I've heard Chip Kelly's pretty unpleasant to be around at this point in the season. They're expecting perfection.
Yep.
And I think they're really striving for that this year. I think the leave no doubt mantra is embedded in that team's mindset. So, the biggest thing I see here, Ohio State's got the number 1 scoring defense. Marshall's got the number 74 scoring offense. That tells me everything I need to know.
Will they give up a touchdown?
I'm going to go out on a limb and say no.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm gonna say no. I think the fact that they haven't yet is something that they're probably talking about.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if they want to get into those single digits for scoring defense by the end of the year, they need to pounce on and take advantage of opportunities like they have right now.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say they will not give up a touchdown. Since we're talking about this kind of stuff, you want to do my Buckeye best bets?
Yeah, that's fine. We can do it now. I stuck it in there, but we can do it now.
Oh, did
Absolutely.
you?
Yeah, it's down toward. It's on the next page.
Okay.
Do it now.
Yeah, let's do it now. So I'm going to stay away from the spread, even though I do think Ohio State covers. That's not one of my official plays. I like a couple prop bets that are out there. I'm a big fan of this play, and I'm going to stick with it because I think they're going to come out and start fast again. And it's a little bit lower than recent weeks. I'm going to go over 12.5 total points for the first quarter combined total points. And then I am going to go over 5.5 Ohio State team touchdowns. I think they will score 6 or more touchdowns tomorrow. And that's offense, defense, special teams combined.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I agree. I think that makes sense. I was just doing the math in my head because that would put it at 42 at 6. So, okay. Technically 36 without the extra point. So, yeah. All right, cool. So what are you watching for Saturday? So my number one thing is how our tackles do against their defensive ends. I think they have a couple ends that will probably get drafted and or play on Sundays, late round picks. So I'm interested to see how they handle, like how Fryer looks. I think Jimmy Simmons will be just fine. And the other thing is plugging Donnie back in. So I'm interested to see how kind of all that works together, because I thought Austin Sehferdt played really well the last time he was on the field. So
yeah, no, I mean, we definitely gained some depth these first 2 games of the season on the offensive line. Obviously want to see how Donnie does, what his conditioning's like. I'm really interested to see how they use the tight ends, to see if Jelani gets to separates himself a little bit with reps. And then I want to see, where Arvell comes in. And then I just want to see what else, Chip rolls out. I mean, he got a little bit more, he dipped into the bag a little bit more in week 2.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see if he builds upon that.
Well, there are murmurs that we may see a couple individuals on the field at the same time. So we'll see if that happens on Saturday.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see if he's going to roll that out before a big game.
Mm.
And also, kick return. I fully expect Brandon Inniss to be back there, and I wouldn't be surprised if Mylan Graham isn't number 2.
Yeah,
Ballard
I do have that.
Is going to the TikTok Hall of Fame training school.
I need to go to that school. I need to understand what TikTok is. So
I'm the breath freshener, Chad. TikTok.
TikTok.
TikTok, okay. Yes. It's the Chinese government's way to infiltrate our country and make all of us robots.
Yeah, okay. I'm not. So a few things from the presser then, Dan, headed into the Marshall week. Again, Donovan Jackson's back. And then I had a chance to kind of listen to what Tegrid Sherbola had to say. And they talked to him for a minute. And he mentioned he knows Marshall's not afraid of being in big games. They have, quote unquote, real players on the defensive line. He said it. I didn't. Should be a decent test of the O-line going forward. Something that I really took note of from Tegra was that he said that having Josh and Seth on either side of him has been really helpful, because if he has a question, he just asks one of them. They both started, and to have it, 2 starters that have played a lot of football on either side of you helps with cohesion and clarification, for running plays. So I thought, man, that's really true. And we've talked about how Seth has kind of been that like mystery piece that we didn't know we needed, but we got it. And now we're like, oh wow, this is really great. And that's who Seth is. Like he's this wealth of knowledge who started in the SEC, and he's a road grader, man. And like, he just looks like, an Ohio offensive lineman with his helmet off. He looks like he's a 30-year-old dude that lives in middle Ohio. So, like having that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you know how much of a fan I
Yeah,
am of his, and going back to it, just mainly because of his mindset and his mentality.
yeah,
He's me, you know. So yeah, I think that communication is key and is very beneficial for a first time starter. I think the addition of Tim Drevno and then Chip Kelly has really taken the development of the offensive line to the next level. I'm hopeful that Fry is learning from that. Now, he was with those guys in UCLA, and for some reason it didn't entirely transfer over when he came here without them. But I'm just grateful those guys are in the room,
yeah.
and I think we're going to see an additional step forward of the offensive line. And I just love the mindset this
Yeah.
year of what they seem to have.
Well, I think that if Seth continues the type of play that he has, he'll be in line, on the finalists for a Remington Trophy.
Oh yeah,
But
absolutely.
I'm
There's
interested.
there's this guy that's I don't know if he's a Miami fan. I'm pretty sure he's a Miami fan, but his name's
Miami
Gmo.
fans.
Or maybe is he Miami?
I don't know.
Maybe he's an LSU fan because it's Meaux. This is the way he spells Gmo. But he was saying something that
Oh,
you know
Miami. Are you
the
talking about the guy on the Morning Roast?
yeah
Yeah,
and
he's a Miami guy.
yeah, he's a Miami guy. He's a good guy. But he was spreading something that like we apparently weren't happy with Seth, and I jumped in. I'm like, why are you spreading fake news, man? Like Seth has been the unsung hero of the offensive line this year, and he's in line for Remington, and he's an absolute stud.
Yeah, yeah,
And he's very well thought of in the locker room.
yeah. You won't hear anybody say a bad word about him, unless they say he's like effing awesome or something. But the other thing I'm watching for is how Donnie fits in. So, having Seth getting used to Austin with Josh. And so, like, Josh and Donnie played together last year, but Seth didn't, so I'm interested to see kind of how that works and how they're, if they do any stunts or twists up front, how the blocking gets picked up, especially on a blitz or passing downs. But, because that was with the Michigan game last year, that was actually one of the problems that Donovan Jackson had with Carson Hinsman was passing off either on a blitz or on twists. So, and that's kind of what happened on the last play of the game.
Yeah, and if I had to pick one culprit in that scenario there, I would guess it was Hinsman, and no fault of his own. He was just a first time starter at center,
Yeah.
and but I think that Donnie and Seth are two very cerebral guys.
Yep.
So I would be surprised if we see any sort of consistent problem. I mean, you're going to have a missed assignment here and there, or miscommunication here or there, but I'd be shocked if it's not identified and fixed immediately.
Agreed.
And we don't see it happen again.
So the other person I listened to, Will Howard, he's just happy to be here, man. He's confident. He's
but
confident.
Not in a Jaden Ballard way.
No.
Let's be clear on that.
Yeah, no. He just, I mean, Dan, like, he's engaging. I enjoyed listening to him. He's embracing being a Buckeye. He's appreciative of a fresh start. He's wants to be here. He's glad he's here. He loves Columbus. Like, I enjoyed listening to him. I was like, wow, like, this was really engaging. I'm really glad I took 10 minutes to listen to Will Howard today because, he was fun to listen to.
He's got a little Cliff Clavin in him.
Yeah,
you know who that is.
Yeah,
you know who Cliff is.
Yeah,
like he enjoys talking. He
yeah.
enjoys people listening to him talk. And I think that does have to do with everything you just outlined. I think he's just completely revitalized, refreshed.
Yep.
Now, true measure of a man is not during times of comfort and convenience, rather controversy and challenges. I think I messed that up a little bit. I got the gist of it. Apologize to
you got most of it.
But so we'll see. Whenever some adversity strikes, what's it going to look like then? So, but right now things are good. Hopefully, we won't see any adversity. Those, despite the self-made adversity, if you separate the scandal from what happened up north last year and just look at the way they took care of business in their games, I'm kind of expecting the same thing with our guys. It's just there's going to be a couple extra challenges in this, in there because of the expanded playoff. Like there's the similarities between the roster. While I do believe that we have much higher end talent, but just from an experience and a veteran presence, it's eerily similar to what they had up there in Asterix Arbor last year.
Yep. And I can't, I don't want to bash Kyle McCord, but the way that Will Howard handles the media is just exactly the opposite of the way Kyle McCord did here last year. And I didn't like listening to McCord in pressers and stuff. He just always seemed like he was just sad. Like he was very sad.
Kyle McCord's pressers last year got me through many sleepless nights and allowed me to get some sleep.
So I enjoyed Big Willie style. And listening to him, that's my new nickname for him. And
Willie style?
Big Willie style. Yeah. Yeah. It's a play on, there was a rap song years and years ago. Will Smith did it. So yeah. All right. So Dan, you already brought it up.
The perception of Will Smith's about to change, I think.
Yeah. You brought up, Brandon Inniss taking over, kick return duties from the Massillon legend, Jaden Ballard. Ryan Day basically said something along the lines that they've had to have many honest conversations. You're welcome, Dan, in order to maintain excellence. And I think that having Inniss own special teams. So he owns punt returns. He owns kick returns. He can focus on that. He's also an elite wide receiver that can come in when they want to spread the ball around. Sign me up. I'm good. Let's go.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I want to see something happen with special teams this week. And I would be comfortable with either side of the ball, but I really want to return.
Yeah.
It's time. Enough is enough.
Well, the other thing I like about it is, it will give him more touches, even if we hold the other team to 0, there's going to be one kickoff at halftime or at the start of the game that Inniss gets to touch the ball more than likely. So, they have been kicking it out of the back of the end zone a lot, but I like having one guy own returns like that. Here, you are the returner, go return them,
Yeah.
So, and Inniss he's shifting in, so I like it.
Well, you're not going to have to convince him to catch the ball.
No. Did you have a chance to listen to Arvell?
I didn't, man. I'm dependent on you to let me know what these guys said, and I'll react to it. It's been a crazy busy week for me.
Okay. This was my favorite thing of anything I listened to. He said he either wants to make the tackle or be near enough to the tackle that he could have made it. And I was like, okay, all right. I can
hold on a second. I'm not sure I love that.
Well, he was saying that like, even if he didn't get over there and let's say, Jack Sawyer made the tackle before he could get to it.
Okay.
He wanted to be in line to make the play.
Not that he didn't when he could have. He could have if needed.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
If somebody else didn't get there first, he would have got there.
Yeah.
I like that then. Yeah. Dude, I just he's a unit, man.
Yeah.
I mean, he is a freak.
Yeah.
And
Glenville, man.
Yeah. And I think that, I don't see him cracking the starting lineup without an injury this year, like being the guy.
Yeah.
But I do see him being the guy or one of the guys next year.
Well, I do have a little
tidbit. He's a true sophomore, right?
Yeah. I have a tidbit
of
information.
Or is he a redshirt sophomore?
No, he's a true sophomore. Freshman?
He didn't redshirt last year?
Maybe they redshirted him last year, but he when he came on the field and they went with 3 linebackers, guess where he played?
He played in the middle, right?
He played Mike.
Yeah.
Simon slid outside, not Arvell. So it was Sonny, Arvell, and Simon. Worth noting about how talented that kid is. So one of the other notable things that I picked up, Dan, was Ryan Day listed some defensive tackles and I should have wrote them down in order, but basically what I took away from it was He mentioned Hero Canoe. He mentioned Will Smith Jr. He mentioned Taiwan Malone. But last was Jason Moore. And all spring all we heard about was Jason Moore. And so I'm wondering if he kind of has hit that, like, peaks and levels. I wonder if he's kind of leveled off a little bit. Will Smith being a legacy, obviously I love to hear that name. But I think his
twice on the show.
Yeah. Ryan was just thrilled about how deep they are.
Didn't he mention Caden too? I did catch Ryan.
Oh, Caden McDonald. I'm sorry. I just skip over Caden McDonald. He's the third starter.
I caught Ryan's, that's the one interview I caught this week was on Tuesday with Ryan. I didn't even catch Chips.
So Caden McDonald, I just consider him the third starter at this point.
Yeah.
Like that kid is awesome.
Yeah, that seems to be a topic on a lot of the shows right now is there's, and it seems like there always is, right? There's always that one guy coming out of spring, those one or two guys that you're like, you hear their name all the time, and then they're just MIA once the season rolls around. And
right.
I think that I'd like to think this year it's more a byproduct of the depth, because of all those guys you just mentioned, they're playing. Except I don't know how much run Will Smith's got, but
not really a lot in the game.
They are playing depth this year, so. If you're not one of the, I don't know. Yeah. The kid's got all the tools, man.
Oh yeah, for sure. It all come together.
I mean, he was a lead enrollee. It's his second year. He was a summer enrollee last year, if I'm not mistaken.
He's only had 1 year in the program total.
I mean, look at Tegra. Tegra is a junior, third year in the program, but he did not early enroll.
Nope.
I mean,
there's
a difference.
Yeah. Well, so what I would compare and contrast for people's recent memory would be Jermaine Matthews coming in January, and then Calvin Simpson-Hunt coming in the summer.
Yeah.
And if you want to see what a difference the spring can make for a player, just look at those two last year, and that'll tell you everything you need to know. And especially along the defensive line, the amount of time that Mick gets with you from January till August makes a huge difference. If you're coming in July, you haven't had that strength program, you haven't had the the nutrition program, you haven't had the conditioning, so you're behind. In this day and age of college football, and somebody I'm really happy for, Dan, Lorenzo Styles Jr.
Yeah, he's earned it.
Yeah, man. Wow, he's really settled in at DB. They talked about it. I'm happy for the kid. But
Ryan spoke to the fact that he earned it on special teams.
Yeah. It's awesome. I'm happy for him. And he gets to play with his brother. He's playing at his dad's alma mater. Awesome. Fantastic. Yeah. So I just wanted to bring him up.
Yeah. I'm seeing more of a meritocracy this year than we have in season past. It's early. Yeah. It'll be really like when we go through the what are you looking for, this week segment. When it comes to Iowa and then certainly Oregon, I'm going to be paying real close attention to what the rotation looks like in those games, right? We can't have a game like Notre Dame last year where Jack Sawyer and JT do not come off the field for a single defensive snap. That's ridiculous. And I hope that the rotation this early will lead to that not happening. But,
yeah, Kenyatta and Mitch Melton, I think, can give you some relief. I really do. So, and Caden Curry.
For sure.
So, Dan, other games, non-Buckeye games that you're paying attention to this weekend, not named USC and Michigan.
It's the only one I got, man.
Okay.
I haven't even looked at the schedule.
All right.
It's like I can't even begin to tell you how busy
Tennessee goes to Oklahoma.
Okay, that's on my radar. I know about that game. That's at night, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Those are really the key marquee matchups I kind of tune into because everybody's saying Tennessee is going to roll Oklahoma, and they may. But honestly, I had Tennessee finishing 9-3 this year. So, but their quarterback Nico, he's played better than I thought he could, and better than he thought he would. But better than I thought he would. But I'd love to get your prediction for the USC Michigan game because I actually think it's going to be really close.
Yeah, I think it can be similar to the USC LSU game. I do. And maybe this is just what I want to happen. I do see UCLA coming out on top. I think UCLA's defense.
USC.
Sorry, USC's defense is legitimately improved.
Mm-hmm.
For them to hold LSU to 20 points, I don't care if it was the first game of the year or not. LSU's got a good offense.
Mm-hmm.
For them to hold LSU to 20 points was a little bit of an eye opener, and then I think they shut out their next opponent, right? And then they're coming off the bye. So I'm actually buying a little bit of stock in USC right now. They kind of remind me of that first year with Knowles. Like there was a noticeable, real improvement on the defense right away. And then I've seen nothing from Alex Orji that tells me he can throw the ball. Certainly not to win a game. Now, are we going to see him run a lot? Probably. But I just think they've got bigger problems than just a quarterback. I think their offensive line is trash. I think their depth on defense is non-existent. I think their linebacking core is as bad as they've been in recent years. I just think they have so many more problems than the quarterback thing. And then we'll go back to what we mentioned on Tuesday. I think Sherrone Moore is way in over his head, man. Just the way he handled his quarterback change. Change quarterbacks, fine, but why are you telling the other team that this other guy's starting? Now, wouldn't it be something if it was a rope-a-dope and he came out and Orji wasn't starting? But I don't think he's smart enough to do that.
Yeah.
Like the fact that he you don't need to announce that 5 days, 5 days before the game and let the other team prepare more.
Maybe he announced it because he was in France with Diddy.
He was in France with Diddy.
Yeah. So I think that I'm interested for USC. In all seriousness, I'm interested to see, can they hang for 4 quarters in smash mouth football? And I say that because we know Orji's going to run the ball, but if Michigan can keep it close or get a lead, they're not afraid to run the ball 30 some consecutive times. They did it. They've done it in a game. Like it's happened. Yeah, now their offensive line isn't the same, but
their offensive line isn't the same, and the threat of play actions just won't be there.
Yeah.
Even though they didn't throw a single pass in the second half against Penn State,
yeah,
I promise you those defenders had it in the back of the mind, like, okay, here it comes.
Yeah.
They've got to do it now. It's been a quarter and a half, and they still haven't done it. It's going to be on this play, because the ability was there.
Yeah.
I don't, now Orji has an extra runner. That's interesting. I mean, the kid's a legit freak athlete when it comes to running with the football.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, I just think it's going to be closer than people expect. Now, that's not saying that USC couldn't pull away late, that, Michigan gets tired, whatever. The depth comes to show rear its head, because we were told for so many years that, recruiting rankings didn't matter and that they could develop. And, now they don't have 8 offensive linemen that are 30 years old blocking for their 25-year-old running back. All of a sudden, recruiting matters.
You're talking about the running back that apparently may very likely have been ineligible last year?
Yeah, that one. LLC, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anyways,
it's not over. I'm only bringing that up because it seems to have come up again.
Mm-hmm. It did. So I'd like to get your prediction, Dan. You live in Tennessee. Oklahoma joins the SEC.
I think Tennessee's going to dog walk Oklahoma.
You think so?
Yeah.
Hate it. I hate to hear that. I'm interested in it only just to see how where each team is, because I feel like Oklahoma's ranked at 16 because they're Oklahoma. And it's the brand. So I'm interested in that. All right. Final score.
If Tennessee dog walks them, we'll know where they are.
Yeah, true. Final score predictions for Marshall Thundering Herd at Ohio State. This is not the movie. This is real life, folks.
I'm going to go 48-9.
Okay. I like it. That's good. Yep, I'm at 52-6.
So you've got 7 touchdowns and a field goal.
Well, I think so. I think 2 of the touchdowns, one comes on special teams, and one comes on defense.
That's fine. We'll take it.
I think this weekend, I'm cautiously optimistic that Denzel Burke has a pick six.
That would be nice after what happened to him in the last game.
Yeah, I think he's due.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
All right, guys.
I do think that Marshall is by far the most talented team that we played to date. So,
yes,
if we see a similar result, it's a more impressive result. If that makes sense.
It is for sure. They have some dudes.
Yeah.
Well, folks, you got one day to subscribe, one day to be entered into that Buckeye Corner gift card raffle. We are close to our 500. We're creeping slowly. Thanks for joining us. Enjoy the Buckeye game. If you're going, make sure that if you're drinking, you Uber. Enjoy yourselves. Let's get a nice big win this weekend against Marshall. Head to 3-0 into the Big Ten matchups. And Dan, any last words, man?
No, that's it, man. I'm excited to see the progress. And sorry, lost track there. I'm excited to see the progress. I'm glad I get to see the game an hour before you guys do. I mean, at the same time, but it's an hour earlier in my world, so
jealous.
Hey, man, those games used to start at 9:00 when I lived in Arizona.
That's true.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could do that. I'd be really irritated with life.
I played in a flag football league for like 8 years, and like the last 4 or 5 years, I was able to get my games scheduled around the Ohio State schedule. I was tight with the schedule guy.
Yeah.
So I didn't miss too many. Like the worst case scenario is I'd miss the beginning of the first beginning of the first quarter if our game was at 8:00.
Yeah. Well, I want to tell this story. So Tuesday night we show up for our game, and they actually have kids that are even older than our kids. So they're like a year ahead of our kids, the way that this school does their flag football program. And the ref is literally one of the coaches from the other team. Not a joke. This actually happened. The ref told us we had 1 minute left. We had 1 timeout left. We were driving down the field. We were on the about 8-yard line, about to score. We were going to win. Like we score, we win. He called the game because we were at time.
Oh my goodness.
He called the game because we were at time. We had 1 minute left and a timeout. And he called the game.
Awful. Is that the way it's supposed to work?
No. No. Like we have a running clock for a reason. But there was another game after us, and it was 6:55, and the other game started at 7. And he called the game because of time. First and goal. That's ridiculous, lame. Man. Daddy ball, man. I was so mad. We were, man, people were mad. There was some, for flag football, there were some mad parents. But yeah, visiting officials, man.
Wow.
Anyways. All right, guys, that's my story for the week. You guys stay safe out there. Enjoy yourselves. And as always,
go Bucks.
There it is.